Welcome back to Eternal Ashes. I'm Nastrin, your host and a scientist working at University of Toronto. Today we'll be talking about Campi Florge, a supervolcano, with our expert scientist Tony, a survivor Mark, and a curious teen Yusuf.
So, Campi Flegrei is basically a volcano, a supervolcano near Naples, Italy. It is a coastal supervolcano, meaning that, it sprouted up from the coast and is very close to the sea. So, the last time it erupted was 1538, and, in that eruption, it wasn't too significant. It was more like a footnote in history. There were no reported casualties, and nearby towns were destroyed, but the people in them were evacuated before.
That's pretty impressive considering in the 1500s that they had enough knowledge to evacuate their villages in time to avoid any casualties. But speaking from my experience, I currently live about 42 miles away from Naples, where the volcano is located. And over the past 1 year ago, when the Camp Florge erupted, there were also no casualties, which was also amazing. So it's amazing that our community still has the resources and technology to evacuate our citizens as safe as possible and as quick as possible.
Yeah, it's really important that these communities have the technology and the resources to know whenever a super volcano or any kind of volcano is about to erupt, so they can reduce the damage to the community. So that's what I think.
One thing to keep in mind is that, although people think supervolcanoes as something like, a huge catastrophic explosion, many of the times supervolcanoes are, when they erupt, they're not always catastrophic. They can have small eruptions that have small impacts in their localized area. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, so some of the consequences from this specific eruption, well, from my point of view, as being the closest one to this eruption, I could obviously see that the atmosphere and the clouds around me, they were definitely darkening during the time of the eruption. And as well, I could definitely notice having some troubles breathing, as I also have asthma, and all the toxic gases that are released from the volcano, they're definitely dangerous, and you have to keep in mind about these consequences during an eruption and make sure that you evacuate properly. So,
Adding on to that, there's sulfur dioxide and volcanic ash that gets converted to sulfuric acid, which condenses into the stratosphere, forming sulfuric acerol.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's correct. Volcanic gases, are something that are a great concern to anyone who's located around the volcano. Obviously, if the eruption is bigger, it's going to release more volcanic gases, which will travel further. And it's important that, if you are in an area that is affected by volcanic gases, then you want to keep, a mask at least, or preferably a respirator, and, wear long sleeves so it doesn't, come in contact with your skin.
yeah, so it's important to keep in mind not only the 40-mile radius of the blast, you also have to account for the other consequences, as well as what these consequences can do to the various spheres in our Earth, such as the stratosphere or even the biosphere or hydrosphere, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
definitely.
I also saw an incident during my research in Lake Nyos where 100 to 300,000 tons of carbon dioxide was released from an eruption, and since the carbon dioxide is heavier than oxygen, it suffocated the people in the village, and about 1,700 people died and 3,500 livestock. So it's really important.
Oh yeah, that phenomena is a very dangerous phenomena where when you have a valley or a rift, and the toxic gases, which are heavier than the air, flow down to it, sink down to it, and the people who are, for example, fishing in the lake, can suffocate to death basically.
Yeah, that's a good point. So those are some of the direct causes of death that the super volcanoes could cause, but looking on a macroscopic scale, that these types of eruptions can really cause climate change to like speed up, and as well as climate change in terms of warming and cooling, because of the different ways it can trap heat and also reflect heat. So the way it fluctuates, climate change can also affect our hydrological cycle, not to like, as well as acid rain, and also
Right.
it can cut off its precipitation times as well, right? So this wouldn't be the best for like agriculture first of all, and just the environment in general in terms of plants, animals, and how they're living.
Yeah, and you know that's with our specific volcano, Camp Flegrei. Of course, there's like even like more significant supervolcanoes such as Yellowstone and Toba volcano in Indonesia, which if were to erupt today would lead to even greater consequences.
Yeah. So it was we were in the worst case in this
Right.
this eruption. So we need to be prepared for these types of eruptions, no matter how far they could be in the future. But speaking from experience, in terms of safety protocols, as soon as my village was informed about the eruption, the city took it very seriously with sirens, radios, and giving us lots of tips of what to do and how to exit the city.
Well, so they gave proper procedure for that. That's good.
Yeah.
What do you think are some methods that we could improve upon in preparing for supervolcano eruption?
In catastrophic events such as that, you want to get away from speaking from what I personally did in this situation, is I left everything I had behind, including my family's farm in Naples, where I lost lots of my land and buildings, which is unfortunate, but even my family's livestock, which on our farm. So this can really emphasize how much death this can cause. So you want to make sure you evacuate properly, taking steps like not using air conditioning in your car when you're leaving, making sure that you have your safety kit and masks, and if you have any medical conditions like asthma, make sure you have all your medications and to be prepared for the worst.
Yeah. And I think that there should be investment into some poorly developed communities where they don't have access to these medications and these other things which are necessary to survive a supervolcano eruption or any kind of eruption in general.
Right.
Yeah, because in terms of supervolcanoes, they're really big scale, right?
Yeah.
So it would require lots of funding to, for example, evacuate. Say in the more serious cases, we can say 100-mile radiuses. How much work that would be to evacuate everyone and minimize the risks as much as possible.
Yeah, and one thing to know is that even though scientists today and volcano experts do monitor certain volcanoes to see if it's acting abnormally, and this can sort of tell them that if an eruption is due soon. So for example, they can see the magma levels or estimate the magma levels in a chamber, but even that is not totally foolproof. It's only an estimate. So regardless of those safety measures, you have to be careful of supervolcanoes and follow specific guidelines.
Another thing to think about is I was located on the mainland on the northwest side of the explosion, so I was just wondering what other types of dangers or catastrophes could these types of supervolcanoes cause?
Since you live so close to water, a tsunami could definitely be a cause.
So do you know why that would happen? Is it how do tsunamis result from the explosion though?
Earthquakes and the tectonic plates moving.
Okay. Is it also? I heard something online that it's also with the magma chamber, something does it collapse or what happens there?
Yeah, so it depends on the situation, but you know, in general, when magma upwells from the mantle, the upper mantle, towards the surface, you know, and earthquakes form, that can cause seismic activity.
So I'm guessing the couple islands below me, below Naples, sorry, such as, sorry, I can find them in 1 second, but the islands below Naples, would they also maybe receive some damage from the tsunamis there?
It's definitely possible. Again, like tsunamis resulting from volcanoes can be, you know, very devastating. Usually it's less severe than a tsunami resulting from like you know, a huge Richter 9 earthquake. But yeah, they are very severe. Can be very severe.
Yusuf, I'm just wondering, after this podcast, has your opinion changed on tsunamis in any way?
Yeah, since I live in Toronto, I'm not really near any supervolcanoes, so I'm not that well informed on supervolcanoes, though I do my own research. But after hearing your experiences and Tony's explanation on why supervolcanoes can be devastating, I feel that supervolcanoes, I know more about them.
Yeah, so I just searched up the islands. I think it would be around Sicily and Sardinia. I think those would be the islands that could experience some of the tsunamis there.
So these are some great talks. I want to thank all of you guys for coming, and thank you so much for watching this podcast.
All right, thanks for having us. I really learned a lot from you guys. It's great to be on.